Okay, everybody. Hello. Welcome to our little Friday gathering. It's been quite a week. I did know, I'll chat for a minute so it gives everybody a chance to get on. I did know, of course, about what was going to be happening with Trump last week, but I didn't really want to talk about it because I wasn't sure what was going to actually happen. It's been such a mess trying to figure out what did he actually do. That especially that would warrant 400 years in prison is just so absurd to me. So anyway, I didn't really want to talk about it too much last week, and I kind of avoided it because I wanted to see what would actually happen on Tuesday. I'm really watching how they're handling him, and you can definitely see it's a panic. People are panicked. It's how it looks anyway. It looks like just scrambling just before that 2024 election just to do something. Um, but I do feel it. Number one, I'm really not worried. He's not going to prison. I really don't think that's going to happen. Um, I think that all of this is just like when they raided Mar-a-Lago. It's all to have the imagery of him in trouble, being investigated, being indicted. Nothing like is going to come out of it. I don't think, because I know he didn't do anything wrong. These people are trying to stop him, and it's obvious. So, those are my thoughts so far on that. Now, something else today that I want to do. Well, actually, let me have a look at some of the comments before I move on. Christine says, "You look so much like your dad." I do look like my dad. And the older I get, the more I see it. When I was younger, my hair was more fair, and as I got older, my hair got darker. And you could really tell then. And I definitely inherited his hair, but not completely. I think my hair is sort of half mom, half dad. But I inherited the wildness of his hair. So, um, yes, we do resemble one another. I was just actually speaking to my auntie Shelley, who is my dad's sister. We hadn't spoken in a while, and we did a voice message thing on WhatsApp. So she sent me one, and then I sent her one because we can never get each other at the right time. And I had found this beautiful piano piece that my dad played, and he played it on I think it was March 28th, 2015, and he was prophesying quite a bit that day about the trumpet and do you hear the sound of the trumpet? And um, he said the sounds of I think he said the apostles and the priests will be silenced. Or the prophet, no, he said the prophets and the priests. The voice of the prophets and the priests will be silenced, but the sound of the trumpet will be heard. And of course, he had years before that prophesied that Trump would be a trumpet. Elon Musk even tweeted when he took over Twitter and Trump had started Truth. Elon Musk said, "Oh, I don't like the name Truth. You should have called it Trumpet," which was so odd to me. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk does not know who my dad was, but you never know. Maybe he did know. But quite interesting, some of the alignments, like I told you before, how you have these people who are sort of in the highlight right now. My dad being one of them, is South African. Then you have Elon Musk, who's another South African. Elon Musk's brother's name is Kimball. My father's given real name was Kimball Clement, uh, Kimball, after the piano. He was named after a piano, the piano company that made pianos. Elon Musk's brother, also South African, also named Kimball. Kim.com in New Zealand, who I follow on social media, don't agree with him on everything, but I definitely follow him. And his name is also Kimball. So there's these prominent voices that are South African that have this sort of connection with this name. And I don't know what it means. I'm just observing that and just sharing it with you guys because it's interesting. Um, I'm going to look at the comments again, and then I have a surprise for you guys. I just wanted to give everybody time to join. Yes, he did. He prophesied 2 terms from Maricopa County. He was in Maricopa County when he prophesied the 2 terms. Someone just asked that in the comments here. Dad, Lisa did. Um, he prophesied that in 2007. So you see this theme of the trumpet as well, which is quite interesting. Okay, so hello to everybody. Gina from Georgia. Gloria from Colorado. My grandmother's name was Gloria. Actually, I should tell you a little bit about that quickly. Actually, let's do the other thing first. Then we'll talk about that because there's stuff going on today. I've got surprises. So one thing I've been wanting to do is I want to see if when I'm live, I can do a thing I'm calling Phone a Friend. You remember How to Be a Millionaire, that show that had the Phone a Friend? Where I could maybe bring somebody into these lives if we had a question, if we wanted to talk to someone for a few minutes, if we could actually do that and make it work. So I was going to ask Roger Stone today, and then I thought, you know what? Before I ask Roger Stone, I'm going to test it. So as many of you can probably understand my wanting to test it first. So I'm going to be testing it. I'm just reading comments to see what you guys are saying. So I'm going to test a Zoom link call right now, and we're going to do it with my sister, Jacqueline. Jacqueline is the second born. So it was first me, Donna, and then 4 years later, my parents had my sister, Jacqueline. And she works with us at the ministry. She does a lot of behind the scenes, more tedious tasks like captions and transcribing, but she is there working very hard. And so she's joined us today, or she's going to join us today, and we're going to bring her in. And so let's do it and see if it works. Everybody ready to see Jacqueline?
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Jackie. There's a little delay on the screen, so I can't see you, but can you see me okay?
Yes. Yeah, no, I
Okay.
can. But there
Everybody,
is a
can you
delay.
see Jacqueline? This is my little sister, Jacqueline. And for a long time, it was just her and I. Because my parents, all together are there. I can see now. There she is, my Jacquelina. So what Jacqueline will be able to tell you is that, in the beginning, it was just my mom and dad. They had me. 4 years later, they had Jacqueline. And it wasn't for another 5 years that they had another child, which was my brother, Caleb. So they kind of spaced
No,
it
it was
out,
7 years.
Oh, is it 7?
Yes, it was 7 years. I'm 7 years older than Caleb.
You're 7 years older than him. Okay. So
Yeah.
it was 7 years.
It's five
So you
years
can see that
between
they didn't
Caleb and
just
Libby.
have a bunch of children back to back. My mom had me, then she had Jacqueline 4 years later, then 7 years later, Caleb. And then Libby and Jacob didn't come around till I was 15, 16. I think, yeah, no, I was 16 when Libby was born. I was 18 when Jacob was born. So my parents had 5 natural children and then the 5 adopted. And so Jacqueline is child number 2. And so she did a lot of the traveling with my parents and I. Dad would minister all over the world, and it was me and Jackie who were there with them a lot more as they, got older and the ministry grew and they got more kids or had more kids and then adopted kids eventually too. Um, we didn't travel as much, and Dad stopped traveling too. He didn't travel as much, but he was an itinerant minister for decades before middle 2000s when he started going on the internet. So, Jacqueline, say hello to everyone.
Hello.
This is my sister,
And I've
Jacqueline.
got Libby here.
And Libby, well, let me see Libby. I didn't know Libby was going to be there. My other sister, Libby, that I was just
She's
telling you
got
I
to
was
go to work
16.
soon. Hi.
She is, hi, Libby. Hello, my butter. Now, I used to call
I
her
have to go to
Butter.
work soon, but I just wanted to pop in.
Oh, I'm glad you did. So everybody can see Kim and Jane had more than just me. You see my face all over the place. But I have lots of siblings. And there, I can see her now. There's my little Libby. And so when I was 16, Libby was a baby. And so I helped my mom a lot, taking care of a newborn and going through the whole, her being pregnant. And I was old enough at that point to understand, you know, what a woman goes through to have a baby. And then I was there when Libby was born. And Libby was the most beautiful baby I've ever seen. She came out just beautiful. She was screaming in loud voice, very, very loud voice. And Libby is
Oh
the
yes, no, and
singer.
all the nurses said so. All the
Yes, and oh,
nurses were like, "This
we've
baby is
we've
beautiful."
never heard a child scream that way until I had my daughter Magdalena. And then mom and dad said, "Oh my goodness, we've never heard a child scream this loud." So I think with each generation, it just gets louder.
Oh no.
Libby and Jackie, um, um, I wanted to tell them about Gug because we've just, somebody was commenting on here named Gloria, and it made me think of it. The ministry has just entered a partnership with a sponsorship with My Pillow. And, we've been Mike Lindell supporters for long before any of the, and this is why I'm bringing up my grandmother, because my grandmother passed away in 2017, Gloria, but she loved My Pillow. And we all bought the My Pillow products um, because he was a Christian. Mike Lindell was a Christian, and we were supporting a Christian in the marketplace, which is something that our dad, now that you guys are here, I can say our dad. Um, but something that our dad, really not only prophesied would happen, but felt that it was needed to have Christian voices in the marketplace. And so you'll see on your screen right there, we have a promo code now with My Pillow, which is so exciting. And you can get a discount if you use the promo code Kim Clement. You can also go to the website, just go to mypillow.com/Kim Clement, and then it should automatically give you that promo code. And this is something we've just started. We've never done anything like this before, but I've had the honor of spending some time on the Reawaken America tour with Michael. Not personally, I run away from him. Take that off the screen. Let them show my sisters again. I run away from him because the first time I ever met Mike Lindell, I'd come off the stage and I just introduced, not introduced, I presented the prophecies in front of Eric Trump for the first time. So Eric Trump was side stage, and me and Charlie Jordan presented all the prophecies. So he was actually able to see what Dad prophesied, and it was pretty amazing. Hang on, I'm just getting distracted here for a second. I'm just looking at something. So anyway, but what I wanted Libby and Jacqueline to do was tell you about Gug, our grandmother Gloria. And Libby was born on Gug's birthday. So August 16th is, I'm calling her Gug. It's our grandmother. We called her Gug. Her name was Gloria. And so you guys remember her getting to My Pillow. Do you remember that? Do you remember them ordering that?
I do remember her having stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because she always had her politics, her books, her opinions.
She did.
The
She
news
definitely-
on constantly.
Yes.
She did, and she had Fox
Oh,
News on,
yes.
although we know now she'd probably be pretty
yes.
mad at Fox News right now. I think
Oh,
she probably
yes.
would
Oh,
not,
my
she would have
God.
boycotted them with the rest of us.
Johnny, Granny would have been on one after this stuff. She would have been losing her mind.
She would. She would have. She was.
would have been losing her mind. Of all
Gug
people,
was quite.
she would have been losing her mind.
She was quite. I think I'll be okay.
She was so involved when it came to that kind of thing.
Yes, very. And look, it helped us, right? Because we got a lot of insight into politics that we wouldn't normally have had it not been for her.
Right, because I mean, all these things that we've been hearing about now, Granny was talking about by reading the books. She would read the autobiographies, and then she'd be like, "Look at this! Can you believe
Clinton Cash?"
Yes. And then now all those things that she was showing me, she was like, "Can you believe this?" Are now coming out. That's what's happening. Granny would talk about this stuff years ago. That's what makes me laugh, because I'm like, she did know.
Do you remember her? Uh, I'm trying to think if it was her. Yes, she used to get the National Enquirer,
Oh
um,
God.
and all those magazines. And my dad, remember how Dad used to make fun of her for it too, because
Yes.
she would have the National Enquirer. I don't remember the names of the other ones. They're still there in the grocery store, and she would
Oh
have
no,
them.
all of those sleazy tabloid magazines, like the
She had them.
papers and
She
stuff.
had
She
them
would
all,
every
but
one of them.
and to us it was like, oh, when you're growing up, you don't really think too much about it. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but we're
But
at different
maybe
ages thinking,
you don't really listen to what she's saying.
but we
You
remember.
don't really, to the extent that she was going on about. But now that I think back on what she was telling me about, I'm like, holy crap, this is what she was telling me about. And it's actually coming out now.
And
And
the
so
thing that
it's pretty crazy.
Yes, and the thing is that she traveled a lot through Europe, Israel, Egypt as a young woman.
She went all over.
She traveled all over the world. She was there in
Yeah, she hitchhiked all
Israel,
over the world. Who
the
can say that?
1967 war. In Israel, she was there for that, and they had to hide her. And she went with Pa, who was
Did
our great
they?
grandfather. Yes, she had to
I didn't
hide
know they
during
had to
that.
hide her.
Had to
I knew
hide
she
her.
was there because she told me about the strawberries.
The
She was
strawberries.
telling me about these massive strawberries. Yes, she told me. Oh, they're beautiful.
She did, and also, she had so many. I mean, there was one time she snuck herself onto a plane and got herself out of Europe without a passport or a ticket. And this was in
Really?
this was in the 80s though. But
Well,
she had,
yeah, no, but
there's
that's
a
pretty
whole
impressive.
story
I
to it.
mean,
I can't
the
tell that whole
80s, I
story.
would have figured it would have been in the 30s or something.
No, 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 no. This was in sometime in the 80s, and I can't tell the story of why she had to go there, but she had to get home and didn't have a ticket, and she just got onto the plane with no
How did
passport,
she do
no.
that?
We
Well, I
don't
mean, I
know. We
know it
don't know
was
how she
different
did these
back
things.
then. Well, I know it was different back then. Sometimes people could like mistakenly get on the wrong flight. You remember those that used to happen sometimes. I remember hearing stuff like that when I was younger. Before all the 9/11 stuff, you remember?
Yes, before
People
nine
used to
eleven,
be
it
able
wasn't
to
like the
yeah,
TSA and all that wasn't
it
that
was
way.
different. Yeah, it
Plus,
wasn't
she was a
as
very small person.
strict. Yes.
She
And
was a
nobody
very
really,
little person, sort of unassuming little old lady. She must have just
Yeah.
slipped
yeah.
in and sat down. Oh, so
Yes, exactly. No, she knew how to work it.
she did. Oh, she was something else. But she was the one who liked Mike Lindell and brought our attention to him right when he was first coming out and with My Pillow and stuff. And
Yes.
so that's why we decided, well, we're going to try doing the sponsorship thing, and we know we can trust My Pillow and we like My Pillow. And what I keep telling people too is, why would you, like in the climate that we're in right now, where you've got people saying, well, we're going to, let's boycott Target for putting out all the clothing and the Satanist designer and all that stuff.
Yes.
So you
No,
have the
it's pretty.
boycott
That's pretty
Target kind
crazy.
of, yeah. And so
That's pretty crazy that
one
that's
thing you
happening at
could do
all.
is, instead of like, because we do understand that there is a problem with these corporations that have partnered with government, and what used to be, this is something I find so difficult to understand, what used to be the liberal idea was the evil of capitalism and, Occupy Wall Street and all this. And now there's like a partnering. So it's a strange thing that's going on. But the point is that if you, like, who are you supporting? And that's, I think a lot of people are looking at that. Okay, so who owns what? Like, all the news networks are owned by particular people. Yes, you know those people, but they don't even have full ownership. It really all goes back to BlackRock owning everything. But I don't really know enough about that. It's not that I don't know enough. I don't really think we have time to go into the whole thing there. But the point being, if you're putting your money somewhere nowadays, it's where are you putting it? What are you backing? So everybody said, okay, Target's doing something we don't like. We're not going to give them our business. And that is
Yeah.
the free market, which we do like. We need a free market. So
Yes. No, we need that.
because those kind of things take care of
Very
themselves within the
important.
market, right? So we can boycott Target. Target hears us. Oh no, our sales drop. We better not do that anymore. And so the whole point being, you could buy sheets and towels from somewhere like Bed Bath and Beyond, like I said last week, or you can go to My Pillow and buy sheets and towels. Let's say that's what you're wanting to get, but you're buying from someone who you know is a Christian, who you know is not a part of an agenda that is it's so deep and intricate at this stage, and it has infiltrated in so many places. It is like a cancer growing.
No, it is.
Right.
And
And
they're trying
so
to remove our they're trying to remove our ability to have that free market. You know what I mean? Where it's like the corporations are kind of trying to merge themselves into one, so that it's just the one corporation that owns everything.
That's a good point you're making there, Jacqueline, because everything is
because that
becoming
removes all of our
centralized.
options, and then so it's no longer a free market. You no longer have all these choices where you can be like, oh well, I'm not going to buy your product, I'm going to go buy this one. They don't want that anymore, because then they lose all power and control.
And you notice what happened during the lockdowns. It was like you were allowed to, they had these lists, and it was sort of weird, like you're allowed to do some things but not other things, but it didn't make sense.
No, it was ridiculous. It was a power play. It wasn't about you, this is going to make you less likely to get sick. It was like, no, let's see what we can stop you from doing.
And also look at Amazon, for instance. Amazon, for instance, they have done very well as a result. So you can sort of see why people would question. You know, we've been lied to so much. There's so much obvious corruption.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's like, if there's money, there's corruption. If there's money, there's corruption.
It's greed, really.
The thing is that, yes, it's that desire for the money that makes people do these horrible things.
That is what has happened. People have taken bribes and they've taken.
Yes, it's
taken
always
the money,
about the money.
And then they trap themselves. So some people out there maybe don't agree with what's going on, but they're afraid. I know a lot of that's going on with whistleblowers. They can't do something,
yes, now, because it's like they have their lives destroyed. And I mean, who's going to voluntarily do that? There are some people, the whistleblowers, and they're being made examples of. They're trying to make sure that they make strong examples of them so nobody else does that again.
And then go back to during Trump's presidency, during the impeachment, the way they treated whistleblowers then. They were like the most protected, precious. We cannot reveal the identity of the whistleblower, said Adam Schiff. You know, he's so and it's like, now that's completely changed.
It's a double standard.
And it's too short of a time. And I think God is allowing this because he wants everybody to have a chance to see what's actually going on here.
But they do need to.
Right. Everyone.
And the thing is, they're not even trying to really cover it up anymore. They're being pretty open about the fact that they're trying to do these things.
Which is a little concerning.
You're not going to do anything anyway. Yes, that's very concerning.
Well, one thing is that tomorrow, Mom and I just filmed for the broadcast this week, current events, and that is going to be up tomorrow for everybody. And you actually haven't seen it either, Jacqueline, so you can watch it too. But it'll go up tomorrow, Saturday. And Mom and I we filmed it the other day, so we pre-recorded this one. But Mom and I had a very interesting discussion. Mom was looking at certain events that are taking place. I won't go into it too much. I'm going to let you guys watch her tomorrow because it's much better if she explains it. But there are certain things happening that are worthy of note. One of them being the river Euphrates drying up, so that the armies of the east can march upon the west. And that's in Revelation. Is it 12 or 13? I always get them mixed up. But it says when the great river Euphrates dries up, or that it'll be so the armies of the east can march upon the west. Now, what I've been looking at all week long is the BRICS nations, and because right now the BRICS nations are, you've got a whole bunch of people,
and all these countries are swarming to join them.
Yes.
they're adding other countries as like all the time. So it's
Well,
like
this is what I was
very
looking
alarming.
at. So you see the BRICS nations, and you remember Daddy prophesying about the giants, and he was talking about the brothers of Goliath stand in glee and say, "We'll cripple you, America. You will lose your credit." So because God specifically talked about credit, that this is finance, and you see the BRICS nations are doing a gold-backed currency, and I've been looking all week at what African leaders are saying, because there's a few that I follow, and their reasoning behind some of the choices. But what you're also seeing, like for instance, 2 days ago, Xi Jinping met with the Palestinian prime minister and was saying things like, "Oh, we're going to be there to make right all the terrible things that America and Israel have done."
Yes.
And the way in which Xi presented that, and then if you go and you look at Putin, and Putin making his speeches and he's pointing out all the bad things that America did, they are making America look bad. That is their goal.
Yes.
They don't care about us. They don't care what we think. All they care about
No.
is, because they care about their own countries. And so I'm not saying that in sort of an ugly way. I'm saying if you're the leader of a country, your interest is in your country. So
Yes.
they aren't going to care about us, except for
Yeah.
what they could get from us. And that's just how things are. So
Yeah,
it is
that's how that
worthy of
works.
note that Dad saw the giants. In the prophecy, it was credit. We will cripple you. You will lose your credit. That's a financial thing. And then very concerning seeing Xi with the Palestinians, because that goes back to a threat to Israel. And a lot of what Daddy was prophesying about was what would happen with Israel and America at the same time. And
I mean, yeah.
seeing that, I'm going to have a look at comments. You can talk to the people too if you want to. I'm just going to see, because I'm seeing a lot of comments are coming in. Okay. Everybody's giving me stuff to read all of a sudden. Sorry, everybody. Okay, well, I think we're good, Jacqueline. I wanted to just tell everyone, I wanted everyone to see you, but I also wanted to test this. And it appears like signals work. Everybody can see and hear nicely, and everybody got to see you today, so that's nice.
And Libby.
And you got to see Libby. And I had actually wasn't sure which one I was going to ask, but Libby's an esthetician, and she had to go to work. That's why she disappeared how she did. But
Yeah,
I
no,
wanted you
she
guys
did.
to see the other, there's other kids. There's more of us. Kim Clement's children. We're all over the place. We're trouble.
We are Legion.
No, we are not. Actually, it's interesting you'd bring that up, though, because that comes from that Bible story where Jesus went to the town, and the man was filled with the demons, and the people in the town didn't know what to do with him. And when
Yes, I remember that
addressed,
story.
yes, and when addressed, the man answered, the demons through him answered, "I am Legion." And a legion is actually 6,000 Roman soldiers. And so there
Oh
were
dear, I
many
did not
demons
mean
in
to
that man.
reference
So
us
we
to
are not
demons.
Legion.
We are not Legion. Never mind.
We cast out that legion in the name of Jesus is what we do. But okay, Jackie, I'm going to let you go. But thank you for joining us and for giving us this little test today. It was nice for everyone to see you and Libby. And now we know this works, so this is good. So I'm going to ask, from time to time, I might ask someone to zoom in and chat with us if we're discussing something and we have questions. But thanks
No,
for
that's
joining us,
fine.
Jackie.
Me
Thank
and
you for
Libby can
joining
do it.
us. Buddy's going
Or
to
one of
turn
the
you
other.
off now. We're going to say goodbye to you, and I'll be probably the center screen again. But thank you, Jackie, again for joining us, and everybody. That's Jacqueline, and you got to see Libby. But I have been reading here in the comments. (2027) Denise is talking about the revival and the awakening, and what my dad. I thought of that yesterday, which is interesting. You'd bring that up, Denise, because I was thinking about 2027 because he he broke down, and part of me for a long time just thought, well, he maybe was sensing that he wouldn't be here in 2027 because at some point in there he says, where will I be? Where will the children you gave me to look after, where will they be? Because they had adopted five. My mom and dad had adopted 5 children when he prophesied that. And so I do believe that there's a lot of these prophecies that we have sort of jumped the gun a little bit, not understood everything, and sort of I've definitely done that. I did that with the Esther prophecy with Amy Coney Barrett. When Trump nominated her, I thought I was still in this. I had this idea of a timeline, and really what I've learned through, because this is nothing against Amy Coney Barrett either. I just don't believe as time has passed and events have transpired that is the Esther. I think there's a lot of Esthers. I think the spirit of Esther is resting upon the nation for that. But you'll find that a lot of these things, I think a lot of the things he saw about Putin and about Russia are not for right now. I think that's something that's going to come in the future. And so I definitely do, because I mean, he saw all the way up to Putin would die by the sword in his own hand, and a servant's broom would sweep up the webs that he'd woven. So we right now are in a situation where we've got the Ukraine-Russia situation. You have corrupt American politicians who sort of, lots of people, not just in America, are using Ukraine to launder money and all sorts of other things going on through Ukraine. So interesting, my dad, that God sent my dad to Ukraine. And I've talked to you about that before. But this week also, I did a search on the United Nations, because Mom and I, the broadcast that you'll watch tomorrow, we kind of were discussing that one world government, that centralization, and what's in the Bible that is in accordance with that. Mom particularly was looking at the 10 toes and the 10 horns, and then the little horn that comes out of the 10 horns. So to get more insight on that, you're going to have to watch tomorrow at the House of Destiny. And the way you do that is go to houseofdestiny.org or kimclement.com and click on the watch page, and you'll see the most recent broadcast. Also, I say this every week, please do go into the website, create a login so that we have your email address, so that if they decide to shut down this YouTube channel, you can still find us if you're only a YouTube person. You kind of come over there, because you can still see stuff here on YouTube or on Rumble, or because we're everywhere on social media. But we are trying to make sure we have that email address, because that way, if anything happens, we send out big massive emails to everybody, and sort of update everybody. And then if you're a person who doesn't really want to get emails, you can unsubscribe. You don't have to, if you're like, oh, I don't feel like getting all these emails, because we send a few, but we don't really hardly send any. I mean, just to let you know. But in those emails is a link where it'll take you straight to the watch page to watch. And so do have a look at that, because I don't want to say too much right now, because I'm going to mess it up. My mom really is the one who put this together and has really focused on this, and she's the one who has been anointed to address this in this season, these topics. So like I brought up to you before about the Euphrates River drying up and AI. And then the big thing this week was, for me, I'm going through Twitter, and lo and behold, is an article someone had retweeted about Yuval Noah Harari and Klaus Schwab are planning to rewrite the Bible, at which time I called them Pinky and the Brain. And a lot of people laughed about that, because it is so true. Like, how are we going to take over the world today? What are we going to do? And then there's a little song, Pinky and the Brain, 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 Brain. I want to make like a little intro, like a little, I wish the song's probably copyrighted, but if we could have like a little intro every time we talk about Klaus and Yuval. Pinky and the Brain, 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 Brain. But yeah, they want to rewrite the Bible now. And my beef with that is they sit around saying how they believe God is dead, and Yuval Noah Harari has actually said God is dead. It just takes time to get rid of the body, right? Blasphemy. anyway, he says things like that, but he always says the God of the Bible. And they want to rewrite the Bible. So this is a very targeted thing against Christians in particular, because they're not rewriting the Quran and they're not rewriting the Bhagavad Gita or the Torah. They want to rewrite the Bible. So for people who don't believe in God, supposedly, they're making a lot of effort in this area. Like, why would you bother? If you don't believe in God, why would you bother to rewrite any holy book, worship anything? Why are they setting that up? That to me is very telling. It just makes everything so just wide open right there. Just, you are frauds. And what are you people doing? Because genetic editing, that you're messing with God's code. Now, a lot of people have said to me, that with the technologies and the advances in technology, a lot of people could be relieved of or cured of certain diseases. And let me tell you something. My dad prophesied and did see cures for autism, for Alzheimer's, for cancer, for brain injury. He saw that would happen. What we're dealing with right now is, again, it goes back to that centralized control. So they want to centralize the whole world now. So the world is run by one government. Go look up the Club of Rome. You'll see about that. Things like the United Nations, the WHO, the WEF, the CIA, the FBI. There's all these letters, right? So and you hear me asking all the time, who are they? Who are they? Who is making the centralized command that goes out and then everybody does what they're told? So, obviously, in the years to come, we'll understand more. But I think, yes, with a lot of these prophecies, we shouldn't rush. We should be patient, because it doesn't just play out as quickly as you want it to. And so, like with the Esther prophecy that I brought up earlier, I jumped on Amy Coney Barrett and went to Washington, D.C. Look, we found this is the Esther my dad prophesied. But then was the 2020 election, and everything changed from there on, because so much was exposed and revealed. And so what you should do when you're done watching me here is, here on this YouTube channel, you'll see the Kim Clement prophecies on the UN. We just posted it this week. Do have a look at that. On Rumble as well. I haven't forgotten you, Rumble. I just know I don't have to worry about being censored there. But yes, if you are on Rumble or YouTube, and you can anywhere on social media, on the website, it's all over the place. But wherever you're watching, do watch Prophetic Rewind, which is what I put up this past Monday. And it was a compilation of prophecies my dad did about the UN. So again, because I had that conversation with my mother, and we ended up doing a whole broadcast on, the 10 toes, the 10 kingdoms, the season we're in, all that. There, I was looking specifically at the UN. And so much is within those prophecies, so much more than the UN. Oh, my goodness. I had to sit there and try to, because, all of these broadcasts are hours and hours long, some of them 2 hours long. So I have to cut out just what is relevant. So I had to sit there and watch through all of it and say, okay, what is everything he prophesied? And then take out the section about the UN. And the cool thing that happened was, I'll tell you the backstory. So when my dad first passed away, before I ever used YouTube or any of these things, I used YouTube to watch funny videos. I never used it for anything else in my life. And I had a video, an actual VHS recording of my dad prophesying in Nashville, Tennessee in 2006, was it? And he's in a yellow sweater. And he was just shouting and shouting and shouting. And he's shouting about the UN. And he was saying how it is a stench to God's nostrils. Another time, which is not in this video, he actually said, you don't even know what they've been doing. Like, whatever it was, he said he could actually physically smell it, like a stench coming from the UN, and that it would be abolished. God said, I will abolish it. There will be something else. So I had this prophecy, and within it, he talked about this president that would come, and how he would have an anointing that, without even intending or meaning to, would expose corruption. So just him being there would expose corruption. Now, back then, that didn't make sense to me. It does now. Obviously, it was Trump, because just Trump being there has caused such a ruckus. I mean, they're trying to put the guy in prison for 400 years. Are they insane? They're not going to do that. Okay. I can't see them getting away with that. But I think for them, it's more the image so that they can make him do everything they possibly can to stop him, which should tell you a lot. Tell you a lot that everybody in the whole world, and you can't point to me a specific evil, a specific crime. You know, it's like classified documents stuff gets very weird, especially with the president. I mean, I remember Bill Clinton losing nuclear codes, and nobody wanted to put him in prison for 400 years, and that does actually threaten the lives of everybody. Okay, Trump never had nuclear codes in there. Whatever's going on, I don't know enough, but I don't feel that it's going to be too much of an issue. Although I have been bothered by it this week. It is bothering me. I don't like it. Let me have a look and see what you guys are saying over here. It is Grammy Anon. The UN is the modern day spiritual Tower of Babel. Agreed. Agreed. And then you look at what's happening with Israel in regards to the UN and the way the UN has handled Israel. You'll see a lot of that too. A stench is coming. Digital ID is here. It's in London. See, this is something else you guys really need to tune in to watch Mom and I tomorrow on the broadcast, because she's looking at this too. My mother is. Several articles of some apostles' texts were left out delivery. Okay, yes, the Book of Enoch. They took the Book of Enoch out. I believe it was 500 or so years ago out of the canon. The ones who kept it were the Ethiopians. So the Ethiopians still have the Book of Enoch in their Bible, and I have read the Book of Enoch. And when it comes to what was going on there with Enoch, really, you look at I look at genetics. You know, because you look at our myths. You look at our myths. There's half human, half goat, half human. You know, that's there in the especially Greek mythology and stuff. You'll see there was a messing with genetics that happened that caused the flood. And here again, you see organizations, a centralized organization, and they're talking about genetic editing and how mixing man with machine, you can live forever. Then you think in Revelation where it says they'll cry for death and it will not come to them. So I think these are very serious times that we're living in. It's really, you know, we joke around and stuff because we have to be able to have relief from that. But these are very serious times, and it is time for us, especially as Christians, because we're being targeted now. It is undeniable that we are a target to that agenda. And my dad certainly was, and he was shouting his mouth off and prophesying all of the things we are now living through, and it is extraordinary. I am blown away by what God did through my dad. I can't. Sometimes I think, Terry, how? You know, because God shows me things. I talk to God. You know, all of us do what we're supposed to. And God will reveal himself to us in different ways. Everybody's different. But the level of accuracy that came through my dad, and as time goes on and I look back, I can see it more clearly. And he always did tell me it. He would tell everybody about code breakers and how it was the weaving of a tapestry together that would create a picture. And God has given that to us as a gift to help us in this time, because it has been so difficult to figure it out, because you have so much lying. And with the new technology, you know, I was looking at, you go back about 100 or so years, that before 1900, you know, kind of, there was the same sort of thing going on. My husband and I were watching about Roosevelt, a documentary about Roosevelt, and things he did, and it was quite interesting to see the issues and problems at the time. Although they're different now, they're sort of different, but it was kind of the same. Like everything was changing all of a sudden, and they were having to change work conditions. I know Roosevelt was going in and seeing the way the working conditions were for people who were being paid very little money, children, people, and he was trying to sort of figure that out, and many other things. I mean, I'm not going to be able to cover all of that, But the point being is history is definitely repeating itself. I mean, if I were you, I would encourage you to go have a look at some of that, what was happening right before the world wars, because it's similar again. It's like a cycle happening. It's just now everything's so much more advanced. And one thing that I've been saying to my mom, with on the broadcast, and to everybody, is what's concerning to me is how quickly it's all happening. I knew these things that were in the Bible. I knew these things that were prophesied. I understood them. I saw them taught in many different ways. I went to many, 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 many churches and heard so many different people over the course of my life that I understand the story and I know what has been prophesied, but I didn't think it would be this quick. I didn't think it would. It sort of feels like it's just, I don't know if everybody else feels this way too, but it feels like all of a sudden everything just accelerated. And now it's like we're just speeding through and trying to see what is the truth and just grab at it. And that's why God sent my dad, I do believe, for this season. And the authenticity and the purity of the word that came through him is solidified by the fact that he passed away in 2016 and has not been here for any of it to pick a side or form an opinion or anything. And so it is pure what came from him. And it has been very helpful to me, and I know to a lot of you too. So, and thank you everybody for continuing to support the House of Destiny. Those of you who have continued to support us with your prayers, watching us, all of that. We didn't know what to do when Dad died, and we weren't sure if the ministry needed to continue, and it did. I'm so glad we did, because we have something to share with everybody that can give you a glimpse, not only to give you hope, but also there's a path and there's these little lights that he saw along the way that will guide us through this dark place that we're in. And that's what the prophetic is for. It's not just there as a show. It's not just there like when you go to a carnival and you see sort of maybe there's a psychic there who's going to tell you a few little things. People have that gift in them, and so it can be used for good or evil. It's the same for the technology that we're seeing, like things like Neuralink and things. We're concerned because we know about the warnings, but then we know that if some of these technologies were used appropriately, they would be very helpful. But it always goes back down to good and evil, doesn't it? So anyway, I'll give you a little update before I go now. I've been on long enough, I think. I'm very glad that worked. Thank you, everybody, for welcoming my sisters today and letting us test to see if a Zoom call is possible on these lives and how the connection would be, and we'll be able to hear and see each other. And it was great. So thank you for participating in that little experiment. Do go to Prophetic Rewind and watch the compilation of prophecies about the UN that I put together of my dad's prophecies. You can go to Prophetic Rewind on the website, on the app. We have the app as well, by the way. So any platform, search House of Destiny, and you can download the app, and it's a mirror of the website, so you can have both. It's just your preference, really. So I have that. Very important to look at those prophecies, because there's more in there than just about the UN. And it is really interesting, because that video I described to you earlier of him and my dad in the yellow sweater, where he was talking about the UN, I found exactly 10 years later my dad standing in Geneva, Switzerland, and remembers that prophecy. I didn't finish that story I was telling you earlier. I didn't finish my story. The reason I put that video up on YouTube, the very first video I ever put, was this one where he's prophesying about the UN, and he's in the yellow sweater. I put it up not because I thought anybody was going to watch it. I didn't even think about YouTube that way back then. I wanted to have a link so I could share the link so people could see the prophecy, just our friends and family and stuff. And when I posted it, it just shot up to 30,000 views in like the first day. And I was like, my goodness, that's a lot of people watch that. We need to focus on YouTube. So it was that very video that pointed and directed me towards using social media platforms the way my parents had already been utilizing the internet for ministry. And so I put that prophecy out there. And then I found 10 years later, there's my dad in Geneva, Switzerland. And he remembers that day. And he said, I was in Nashville, Tennessee. And he says, I could smell, he said, God was showing me about the UN and I could smell the stench. And he said, that was back then. Think of now. And he was like, and that just came to me. So the way I edited the video was I have the footage of him talking about it and then him remembering the prophecy. And then I put that prophecy in there and then I come back to him. And so you hear what he has to say afterwards. And he actually turned around in Geneva, Switzerland, pointed his finger and started praying against the spirit that was over that region. And he said, just the way Jesus stood in Capernaum and said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. He said, the spirit controlling this, I see it fall like lightning and it will not succeed. He saw the rise and fall of the Fourth Reich. So Pinky and the Brain can go try to write the Bible again and pretend to be God all day long. But we know they're going to fail. So, hopefully that helps a little bit because it can be quite scary. You see how much control these people have, but God is in control in the end. Also, Israel Update. Don't forget about that. Every week, every Friday, especially this week and next week, really pay attention to that. Because, like I said, Xi Jinping is meeting with the Palestinians now, talking about how terrible America and Israel are. And, be aware that is going on. So Israel Update, they're going to we've got Dubi Sabo on the ground in Jerusalem. He corresponds with Christy Desfontaine, who runs the channel. And every Friday they put up a broadcast. And Dubi gives us news from Israel and lets us know with unfiltered media now, what he's seen going on in Israel, and particularly Jerusalem, but in Israel. And Amanda Grace is there right now too. And I got a little video from Amanda Grace and Dubi, who found each other in Jerusalem, which is so great. And I'm been praying for them. And they'll be back next week. And so we're going to have Amanda come on our broadcast. And we're going to interview her about her first time in Israel. So I'm very excited about that. That's coming up. But more importantly, tomorrow, watch me and Mom on current events. You do not want to miss it. 'Cause some of the stuff I touched on today about Daniel with the 10 toes and the kingdoms and the way we're looking at this, I think you guys, you're really going to want to see it. You're going to want to pay attention because it's God anointed her for this hour to do that. And you need to hear what she has to say. So that'll be tomorrow. It'll be up sometime overnight. And then, of course, the prophetic rewind I told you about. We have so many things. Just go look on the website. You'll see everything that we have. Don't forget to create a login and become a member of the House of Destiny online church. That way we can reach you if we get censored. That's been a big issue for us. And also, My Pillow. Don't forget, we've started something new. And we're not sure what's going to happen, but we do really love Mike Lindell. And like I was telling you earlier, I don't actually know him. I met him one time. It was a little bit embarrassing for me because I had come off the stage and there was Eric Trump, and I had met Eric Trump for the first time, and we were talking. And then other people came up, and I turned, and there was Mike Lindell. And now he has no idea who I am, but I've been watching Mike Lindell's commercials, and we've bought their stuff for years and years and years. So I know him. So, and it was a tight space. So Eric Trump's right here. I'm talking to him. I turn. Here's Mike Lindell, like right there. And I go, Mike Lindell. And he looked at me like, who's this? I had no idea who I was. And in the moment, I realized, oh, he doesn't know who I am, of course. And so I nervously, I'm so embarrassed. I nervously straighten his jacket and start dusting it off. Like, this is what I'm doing. Because I'm embarrassed because I've realized now what I've done and the situation in when you're in that moment. And I just, oh, you don't know me, Mr. Lindell, but it's so nice to meet you. And I'm just going to be straightening your jacket. So ever since then, I've never approached him to introduce myself. And I sort of stay away. But I do love Mike Lindell. And he's got another symposium coming up in the middle of August. You guys have a look out for that because he's a very brave man. And there are certain men that God has anointed in this season for a purpose, and I know he's one of them. And so they're sponsoring us, and we're working with them. And so if you need any of those kind of things, like slippers or mattress toppers, all those things you might go to Target for, don't go to Target. Go to MyPillow and use Kim Clement as a promo code, and you'll get a big discount. And you'll also help our ministry. And so that's one way in which we can fight these giants, because General Flynn is the person who helped me to understand that what we're up against is are these media giants who have billions and billions of dollars backing them. Politicians, Hollywood, the music industry, so much money is backing them. And we are just this little remnant of people, like my dad saw. And really, it's not a little amount of people. I think it's the majority of people, but we're being silenced. And it's important that we support one another. So this is the kind of a system you're starting to see happen, where a lot of the people go to Elijah Streams, go to Lance Wall now. You'll see a lot of people doing this kind of thing now, because we have to be able to be armed, and it's in a different kind of way. We're not talking about a physical battle now. This is something of the mind, of the human mind, and nothing like this has ever occurred in human history. And the Christians are being attacked. They try to make it out like all these different kinds of people are being attacked and vilifying Christians and misrepresenting Christians. And then you go and you look across the world, and all they're seeing is what they see on CNN. Try to understand that. They don't have, like in other countries, they don't have access to our news. All they see is right now, I believe, to be a misrepresentation of the majority of the American people, the American voice. Because as my dad, in his prophecy about the UN, prophesied also about politicians in this country who have acted the whore. And we, as a result, are reaping from that, those leaders, and they represent us. So if we're being misrepresented, like what you see on CNN, that's what the whole world thinks of us. What you see Xi Jinping saying to the Palestinian prime minister about, oh, how terrible Israel and America are, that's all they're hearing. If they're listening to Putin and he's sitting there listing all the sins, that's all they're hearing. We are being silenced. And the most threatening voice for them is the Christian voice, I believe, which is why we're under this kind of attack. But the Bible told us this would happen. Jesus told us this would happen. So we're prepared. We're ready. We're going to be okay. But we are awake and we are aware. And so I think I covered everything. I remember everything. And also, everybody, don't forget that this Sunday is Father's Day. And that's a bittersweet day for me, because I don't have my dad anymore, but I do have a husband and children. And so we will be celebrating my husband this weekend on Father's Day, and do something special for your dads. And I can say that, Father's Day is probably the hardest one for me. I always made a big fuss of Dad on Father's Day, and I do really miss him so much. So if you got your daddy, hug him on Father's Day. Don't forget him. Don't forget him, because that's a precious time you have, and when it's gone forever. So happy Father's Day in advance to all the dads. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined here today, and to Jacqueline and Libby for helping me test the Zoom, and to Mike Lindell for being so brave and having good pillows. Okay, everybody. Again, don't forget, Prophetic Rewind, Monday, UN Prophecies. Got to watch that. Israel Update out today. News from the ground in Israel. Got to watch that. And tomorrow, Saturday, very important, me and Mom current events. Have to watch that. So everybody get filled in, and I will be back next week, and maybe I can have a guest. I'll see if I can get a guest in here. Maybe I could get Roger Stone might. Okay, bye everybody.
Over 40 years ago, Kim and I embarked on a ministry journey that has now become a global network through the power of the internet. As part of pioneering, gathering people from all over faith and through an up to reaching out message of hope and love to all without discrimination or judgment. We invite you